up and then let you tell the story.
You can put them up right now. So yes, Mari and I actually grew up together. So we have years of building a relationship. And anyway, so these pictures, I'm going to take us in a completely different way. We've been talking about business and that type of thing. And I thought, you know, I started a new job this year as well. Do I want to talk about that? And I thought, you know, the transition that I went through, excuse me, mine is all human. And so there may be a little bit of emotion in it. But the lessons that I learned the most are from the transitions that I had with some health concerns. So all the pictures that you're seeing are kind of related to that. So just starting out, I am a double transplant survivor. I'm a liver transplant and kidney transplant survivor, and I beat a massive intensive battle with COVID. So those are kind of, I just want to talk to you about the things that I have learned from those experiences. So as I was thinking about this kind of awesome opportunity to talk about transition, I landed on the fact that really there are two different types of transitions, right? There's the ones that you plan for, dream of, aspire to. And then there are those other things that are just kind of thrust upon you. You know, ready or not, you don't have control of any of those things. So my transitions were upon my health, and I had no control over a failing liver. I had a liver transplant, and then 10 months later, I had a kidney transplant. I didn't have any control over those things. When you are a transplant patient, you're put on anti-rejection medications so that your body, your own immune system, won't attack the new organs. So I walk around pretty much every day with a very low immune system, and I caught COVID. And I spent about a month in the hospital just trying to breathe. And so this last year has been a rough one. However, I have learned so many things. So let me share those things with you. So I'll be honest, these challenges that I have had to face, I mean, they really nearly broke me in two. I felt helpless. I didn't know how I was actually going to knock down these obstacles that seemed too big. I had no clue about how to move forward. I needed to get more information. I needed to talk to individuals who'd either been through the experience or rely on medical professionals to help. But the biggest thing that I went through was I felt a huge, profound loss of myself and what I thought my life was supposed to be, because I couldn't reimagine what a future would be like, or if I even had a future, because everything that I was facing was life-threatening. So I did have to prepare myself for every outcome, including death. So I planned my own funeral during this whole process. And I'll tell you, my reality was pretty grim. There was real trauma there, and it was just an interesting process to go through. But I had the opportunity to think about it, and I could either accept it or let it beat me down. So there are days when you have to say, okay, I'm made for this challenge. I can do it, right? So meeting each one of these surgeries, every treatment I went through, I had to decide, I'm going to rise up to this challenge. I'm going to make certain that I do not shrink or feel small because of these challenges. And I just buckled down, and I spent some time at the University of Utah Medical Library, finding out as much as I possibly could. I talked to as many surgeons as I possibly could. And I just relied so much on other people giving me information. So this part, let me talk to you about the connections that helped me through this entire process. First and foremost, there are people around us every day that want to help. And I don't know about you, but I'm not great at accepting help. I'm really great at offering help and going out to serve, like Richard was talking about. I love serving others. However, receiving, that's a completely different thing. So coming to terms with the fact that I now was living a life where I needed help, that was a tough one to swallow. But I had some awesome friends, relationships I had built throughout the years that came to my rescue. I'd just been through a divorce, and so I was really on my own. But two of my best good friends, one invited me to live with her because when you have failing organs, it's really hard to live on your own. So I moved in with my friend. And another one of my friends who was a nurse, I recovered after every surgery, after every treatment at her home, because she wanted to make certain that I was safe and had every resource available to her, to me. Neither one of these friends had to rise up and do that for me. They did it out of the goodness of their heart and based on the relationship that we had established over years. I relied on those connections, and they made a difference in my life. I made new connections. I have connections in the medical world, transplant teams, surgeons, specialists. I now know a lot of pulmonologists because of the way COVID has impacted my lungs. I have partnered with Donor Connect, which is an organization that works with donor families. When someone is passing away, they kind of step in and they talk to families about being donors. So I have a whole bunch of new connections. This year, based on the connections that I have made and the way that we've kind of interacted with one another, I had a couple of the surgeons ask me to come and speak to the transplant teams. Most of the transplant teams only see us when we're sick. They nurse us through that process. They see us in the hospital once we get the transplants, and they never see us healthy again. They never knew us when we were healthy. So I had the opportunity to address the transplant team that saved my life. And so this year, that was an amazing opportunity to stand in front of people and say, thank you. That was fun. I also had the opportunity to speak with the group at Donor Connect. The individuals at Donor Connect, they go to the hospitals and they work with families in their darkest hours to see if these individuals can become donors. And they also don't get to interact with individuals who have received life-saving organ transplants. So it was very interesting to talk with them and help them know what their work does for all of those that are waiting for transplants. And then the biggest connection I have made this year was meeting my liver donors family. Excuse me. My liver donor was a woman named Melissa, and she suffered a brain aneurysm, and she never kind of recovered from that. And her family donated her organs. Melissa saved not only me, she donated her kidneys and her heart. So all I can say about Melissa is that she is an absolute superhero. There are superheroes that live amongst us today. So with all of that in mind, and me trying to figure out what this meant for me and what my future looked like, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is we are surrounded by individuals that we have partnered with, that we have made connections with, that we have made relationships with, both old and new. We rely on one another for help. So there is a new me. I have a new identity. I don't live for myself anymore. I live for two donors and their families. And it is my goal every day to make certain I'm living a good life, one of gratitude and one of service. They gave me life. I had a second and a third chance because of them. I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm going forward because of their great sacrifices. But the biggest connection that I have felt and learned from this year is from my donors. And I will let you know that those connections are the greatest connections of my life. They have changed me forever, and they are making me better. I don't share this piece very often, if ever. With my liver donor, what's very interesting is when I met with my liver donor's family for the first time, they brought a whole bunch of pictures and photo albums. And with every photo, of course, there's a story. And what's interesting is before I met the family, I started to crave chocolate. I was not a chocolate lover before my transplant. I started to crave it after my transplant. Also, after my transplant, all of a sudden, I just wanted to go kayaking all the time. That's not something that I did previously. When I met the family and they were showing me pictures, it became very evident that Melissa was a chocolate lover, and pretty much 70% of the pictures, she's on the water in a kayak. Sorry. Has that connection influenced me? 100%. So what I have taken away from the connections I have made this year is that we impact one another in great and majestic ways. We need to be aware of each other and do more for one another. So I'm grateful for a new life, for second chances, for third chances. And I'm grateful that this opportunity has given me an opportunity to actually think about gratitude through connections.